Welcome to WagerTalk TV. I'm Marco D'Angelo, joined in studio today by the esteemed Drew Martin. And Teddy Covers is here too. Teddy, you can follow Teddy at Teddy_Covers and follow Drew Martin at Drew Martin Bets. Guys, we got a Super Bowl coming up. Good one. KC, San Francisco. We're going to take a first look at it. Numbers. Guys, we're sitting across town. Most places right now are sitting at 1 in 54.5. Going to ask you, I'll start with you, Teddy. What was your first thoughts when you saw the number card? We knew what the projected numbers were going to be, but we've seen in the past, like we saw with the LSU Clemson national championship game, we had the projected numbers before the semifinals were played, and then the line came out nowhere near what we thought it would be. What was your take here? Pretty much came what we thought it was going to be.
Sure, and I'm not surprised at all. I mean, my powering number was KC, -1? Might have been -1.5, but right in that range. The look-ahead line was KC -1. And after the Chiefs looked so dominant early, a few books opened early offshore, and they were hanging KC 3 and KC 2.5. But then San Fran looked pretty good late, and that was the end of that. So I wasn't surprised by the number, the bottom line. And when the total first opened, I'm like, this is low, and it didn't last long either.
Drew, we did bet on it earlier today, and as I told you in that one, and Teddy can attest to, because he's been known to sit at a poker table for some hours on end. You get some interesting people at poker tables, and I was there during the second half of the Green Bay San Francisco game, so playing poker, watching the games, at the Venetian, and I threw out to the table. I knew what the line was already, but I wanted to get John Q. Public.
Absolutely.
Everyone at that table that spouted off, everybody's an authority, nobody had Kansas City as the favorite. Everybody had San Francisco anywhere from 1 to a 3-point favorite was the general consensus at the poker table. And everybody was guessing 55, 56 on the total. And I'm just like, I'm shaking my head. The total, why are we going to be at 55 or 56 on this game when Kansas City and Tennessee wasn't a number that high? And you've got contrasting styles on paper. You've got a team that when you think of San Francisco, you're not thinking offense first, you're thinking defense first with them. KC, you're thinking offense. Which one's going to be who's going to be the one to inflict their will in the game? Drew?
Yeah, I mean, the question of, better defense or better offense, contrasting styles, like you said, Marco. In talking about where this number opened, I thought from a side perspective, right about where it is, just between the twos. I wasn't 100% sure that it would be the Chiefs favored, just because I thought there might be something there too. Defense wins championships, and it seems like, Joe Q. Public, everybody knows that kind of term. I was more interested in this total, and how much it's moved. And also the question of where does it stop? And of course, Teddy and I do the opening line report on Monday. I asked him, where does this, could we see 56.5? Could we see 57? Because at what point do you jump in on the under? Until game day, it's not like you can pick a point where, that's the number where it's going to turn, because it's the mainstream public in this game taking so much money. I don't think anybody actually can really pinpoint, hey, when is the spot where it's going to come back to the under? So that's the big question mark I have.
Teddy, you know that the Super Bowl is going to have a higher total. Automatic, just because this is the most public bet game of any game all year.
Let's be very clear. The Super Bowl is literally the only game in any sport all year long where the public has some influence over what the number is going to be. This is it. Because there's that much public money for the Super Bowl where there is, the wise guy money dwarfs it otherwise.
And as I told Drew, he's the newbie to Vegas. He hasn't been here for a Super Bowl. It's that weekend is just insane. We haven't even seen the beginning of the average bettor. They come in on Friday, Thursday night, Friday of Super Bowl weekend, and that's when they'll be making their bets. And in years past, one thing that we have out of the equation this year is because it is a number where we're sitting at of 1.5, you don't have the discrepancy with the money line. How every year when the average bettor comes in and they want to bet a game, they walk up to the window, and when they realize they got to put down $110 to win 100, they don't like that. So what do? They go bet the underdog on the money line because they want to win more money, small money to win big money. But you don't have that opportunity this year with the line where we're at.
Sure, and in the modern era, it's been really difficult. I don't have a lot of rules for Super Bowls, but the modern era, my rule is I don't lay points in Super Bowls. This is a game where you're not laying. I mean, I understand it's -1, -1.5, but you're picking the winner if you're getting involved. And if you're taking +1.5 with the Niners and hoping they lose by 1, there's a slim margin there. In general, in Super Bowls, you want to be betting on the Super Bowl caliber defense, and the 49ers are that defense. All that said, when they face the best quarterback in the NFL, the best defense can lose, as we've seen in recent Super Bowls, and that with Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL right now, and this could well be his coronation party. So the early money in the Super Bowl, Westgate opened pick'em, and it got bet up 1.5, and the sharper books were at 1.5 early, which says that the early money has been fairly predictive in recent Super Bowls. The early money's been spot on, and it's been the late money you want to go against. And when you see that early line where you go, oh, how high is it going to go? You make a great point about the money hasn't come in yet. 95% of the action is going to come in the 48 hours before kickoff. 95%. So all of this, the only people betting now are people who do this for a living or do this on a serious level. It's not the casual fan. It's not the recreational bettor who's getting involved 10 or 12 days before the game.
Now, we know that sharps just by nature, know the public's going to bet the over, and they get in front of the market. Do you think some of this initial money, as soon as this line came out, was sharps betting the over, knowing that this line is going to go up?
100% of it, not some of it. It's all of it is that.
And then they're going to come back later.
I can't guarantee they're going to come back, but I know that they said this line's too short and the public's going to bet it over, and if it's going to get bet over, let's get the best of the number right now, and then we have options with what we want to do later in the week or later in the 2-week period.
Okay, so
and now they do.
Let's take that same question a step further. As you said, they knew that the line was too low for what they brought it out at.
Total.
Do you think that that the line with where it's going, do you see value in the under at any point, or you think that the offense is going to rule the day, as we've seen with the 2 Kansas City playoff games?
Well, I mean, we've also seen, what was the Super Bowl last year? Was it 13-3? And it wasn't that exciting.
It was exciting for the books because that was one of their biggest scores as far as props go. Because
I'm sure.
they won every prop because the public bets overs and yeses.
Yeah, nobody cashed anything over a year ago. Of course, that was last year, and this is this year, and it's a whole new Super Bowl this time around. But the 49ers, I could say this, from a coaching game plan, the 49ers do not want to get in a shootout with Kansas City. That's not the way they want to play the game. And when you start talking about we think back to the shootout against New Orleans, where they played that crazy wild game and they were capable of beating them in New Orleans in that fashion. Let's not forget how many starters are missing from defense, on defense, that are now back in the game for San Fran. So a long way of saying, yeah, at some point there'll be some value on the under here. 49ers want to shorten the game, run the football, and limit possessions for that KC offense. And that matters when it comes to totals.
I agree. I think at some point there will be value. And of course, if it gets out of hand, it's just kind of the easy 101 answer. But also keep in mind, Marco, going into the Super Bowl, it's not exactly the same halftime. There's a lot more fanfare before. And a lot of times, maybe even last year, we saw it kind of affect the offenses more than the defenses. There could be something to that sentiment as well in terms of maybe some more value on the under.
As far as prop betting goes, and Teddy, I know you love to dabble in the props, and a few years ago, you were involved in a movie that in town. I remember blanking on the name of the movie, but you guys, a lot of guys were in town. They followed you guys around and so forth.
About Life on the Line? Is that the name
That's
of
the
the
one.
movie?
That is it. Yes. Super Bowl props can be a very good time for advantage players around town. This is good time to shop because there's more public money, as you said, in this one game than any other game of any sport at any time. My question to you is, when you're looking at this and attacking the props, you've got an issue with San Francisco where they've had their 2 games. They've been absolutely dominant, got there. Jimmy Garoppolo has had to do absolutely zero in those 2 games. If they fall behind against the Kansas City team, how is Jimmy Garoppolo going to be able to answer the bell? Would he complete 9 passes last week?
8 or 9, yeah, something.
Yeah. How do you factor that in whenever you're looking at your props and how you're going to attack? Because if they fall behind, it changes the game plan immensely.
Sure. Well, when you talk about how to beat the prop market, and let me make this very clear. I said there might be a little bit of value on the under. I'm not rushing to the window to bet this game under, okay? I'm not. Because I can see San Fran's offense moving against KC's defense, and betting Patrick Mahomes under is not something I'm really excited about doing. And, okay, I got a point or 2 value on this under. Whereas the props, there's value all over the place. I mean, there really is. And by Super Bowl Sunday, when you're picking off numbers that the public isn't, all right, this minus 110 is now minus 170. All right, yeah, I'll take some back at plus 150, in a pick 'em prop. And you find that all over the place on Sunday if you're looking to bet some unders. But you have to bet unders to do it, which oftentimes isn't fun. Let's root against this guy. Let's root against that guy. Oh, no, don't catch that. That wasn't a catch. It makes the Super Bowl, you're more of a curmudgeon and less of a fun guy to hang out with. But I don't mind. I'd rather make money.
Has he ever been a fun guy to hang out with?
Well, yeah, he's had his moments. You got to get a couple beers in him, get him down to Central America, see what happens.
Yeah. Drew, any last thoughts you have on the Super Bowl?
I guess I would just piggyback on what Teddy was saying in terms of it's not as fun. And a lot of times it isn't in betting unders, but sometimes it's just about mindset, rooting for different types of things. If the defensive line is dominating, you're rooting for that. When you watch a guy get tackled inbounds and the clock's running, you're rooting for that. So it's just you got to kind of have your mindset different for the Super Bowl if you're going to bet the under like I am before kickoff.
And I mean, the one last piece of advice, and we have to give it because it's real, all right? It's one frickin' game, okay? That's it. It's not 20 games. It's not 15 games. It's one game. So bet accordingly. I understand no one's going to bet, 1 unit. Everyone wants some more on this and the props and the total. But don't bet 20 units. Be smart with your bankroll, please.
Absolutely. And guys, we just touched the surface as far as the Super Bowl with these videos this week. Next week, we're going to be more in-depth with actual sides that we like, totals or whatever, and we will dig deep into the props. The props will be out Thursday night. We're taping on Wednesday. Tomorrow night, if you're in Vegas and you've never been there and seen it, the place to be is the Westgate. It's a scene. They bring all these props out. They'll have like 300 props. They don't have them on sheets for you to sit there and look through them. You have to look on the board that first night. Pick them off, stand in line with everybody else, and every sharp in town is going to be there.
It's not about the props that night. It's about the crowd, okay? Literally, it's the only sharp better party that I've ever been to. There's every sharp better in Vegas is there or has representatives there.
Absolutely.
And it's a scene.
And it's a fun place to be at the Westgate, so you'll see a lot of us around. So if you're in town, stop over at the Westgate tomorrow. Check it out. And guys, if you are a WagerTalk TV fan, hey, first purchase, get $25 in wager bucks added to your account after your first purchase at either WagerTalk.com or Sports Memo. And guys, we'll be back next week with full coverage of the Super Bowl here on WagerTalk TV.